So as the MMA guru, I don't like to predict fights and say things like, well, if this guy does what he's supposed to do and gets his own way, then he wins. And if this guy does what he's supposed to do and gets his own way, then he wins. No, I like to call my shots here on the MMA Guru channel. I'm going to tell you guys my last minute detailed fight predictions for UFC 258. I know I've done my prediction videos before, but I've talked about things like, well, in this fight, this guy showed this, so that means he's going to do well against this guy here, and I've gone through their old records, I've gone through their old fights, I've talked about their styles, but in this video I'm going to tell you guys exactly how the fight itself will play out. I'm calling rounds, I'm calling ways to win, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main events. Let's get straight into things with the early prelim opener of Gillian Robertson versus Miranda Maverick. I believe that Gillian Robertson is going to get a submission at the end of the first round. No more funny business here, okay? We're straight into predictions. I'm going with Gillian Robertson by late first round submission. I feel like there will be some scrambling exchanges. I think Miranda Maverick will be doing okay on the feet. I think Gillian Robertson will pose more of a threat on the feet than Miranda Maverick's last opponent, and that's going to lead Miranda Maverick to shoot some takedowns, look to get things to the ground, or hold Robertson against the cage. There will be some scrambles. Maverick might be getting the better of things, but eventually she will leave herself open in a scramble at the end of the first round, and Gillian Robertson will sink in a rear naked choke, capitalizing on the youth and inexperience of Miranda Maverick against good competition opponents. Robertson will get the submission by rear naked choke at the end of the first round in an upset win to kick things off on the card. Moving on, Gabriel Greene versus Philip Rowe is the next fight on the early prelims and headlining. I believe that Gabriel Greene is going to go out there, put pressure on Philip Rowe, put him on the back foot like he did against Daniel Rodriguez, and I think he's just going to overwhelm him with volume and cardio and power, and Philip Rowe is not going to be able to get off his A game, so Gabriel Greene is going to put the pressure on him, start the dance, lead the dance, and end the dance by decision. At the end of this fight, I feel like Philip Rowe might win the first round off of his range and strength and size overall, and then Gabriel Greene will survive that first round and come back in the second and third to earn himself a unanimous decision win, 29-28, winning the last two rounds, pressuring Philip Rowe like he did against D-Rod. Thank you for that one. Now move on to the prelim card. Andre Ewell versus Chris Gutierrez takes place in a catchweight bout. I think that heavily favours Andre Ewell. I haven't actually given a prediction for this one yet because it got made on short notice. I believe that Andre Ewell is going to win this bout. I know some people are picking Chris Gutierrez because I think there's some kind of unconscious bias about Andre Ewell because people can't get over the fact that him versus Jonathan Martinez was actually pretty close. But still, Chris Gutierrez has dangerous leg kicks. I think he will land some of those leg kicks in the first round, but I think as this fight goes on, the guy who's had a full camp for Cody Stamann in Andre Ewell is going to go out there and have more cardio in the tank in the later rounds compared to the short notice replacement of Chris Gutierrez, and I think Andre Ewell is going to be okay in the second and third round to get the job done by 29-28 unanimous decision. And do not be surprised, because I think this is going to happen in the bout as well, if you see Andre Ewell shoot some takedowns, because who has he been training for the past however many weeks? Cody Stamann, one of the best grapplers in the bantamweight division, and he had a great grappling fight with Aljamain Sterling before getting tired as well. I believe Andre Ewell is going to mix in the takedowns, make Chris Gutierrez worry about throwing those leg kicks in the first round. Chris Gutierrez might edge the first round, but I think Ewell will come back in the last two and get it done on his cardio and volume and range overall, because he has got a ridiculous 8-inch reach advantage in the bantamweight division. I almost said a catchweight division there, but still, in the bantamweight division, I think Andre Ewell gets this one done by unanimous decision, winning the last two rounds against Chris Gutierrez and just landing that rear hand over and over again. And Chris Gutierrez is going to be shocked by the range, in my opinion, the same way Nathaniel Wood was. I know Wood beat Andre Ewell, but he was shocked by the range. Ewell can cover a lot of distance, and I think Chris Gutierrez throwing that leg kick and thinking he's on the outside is going to get him caught with a lot of shots and maybe some takedowns mixed in there as well. He's going to stop throwing the leg kick, and Ewell will get it done by decision. Moving on, Polyana Viana versus Mallory Martin. I believe that Mallory Martin's going to get this one done by surviving a first round that might not be going her way and surviving into the second round, where she will earn herself a rear naked choke finish against Polyana Viana. I think she will out-grit Polyana Viana. Viana's a very good fighter though. This is a very closely contested bout. I do believe that Mallory Martin's got a little bit more heart than her, and she will mix in the takedowns and win the grappling exchanges in the second round. Maybe after a tough first one, but she will eventually get a hold of Polyana Viana, earn herself the rear naked choke finish in the second round, just like her last performance against Hannah Cyphers, who Polyana Viana lost to, by the way. I believe Mallory Martin is going to get the job done by submission in the second round, rear naked choke at the end of the second round. Moving on, Belal Muhammad versus Dhiego Lima. Dhiego Lima is very good at avoiding submissions. I think Belal Muhammad is going to go out there and take him down, not be able to get the submission, but earn himself a TKO to ground and pound at the end of the second round. Just like my last prediction for the fight. I think this will also happen in the second round, around the end of it. I think Dhiego Lima will be taken down a couple of times in this bout, beaten up on the feet as well, and he'll run out of options and start to shell up a little bit against the cage. Belal Muhammad at the end of the second round, once Dhiego Lima starts realizing that there's not really any way of him winning this fight with Belal Muhammad, I think Belal will shoot a takedown, look for submissions, not get them, but use it to get control and pound out Dhiego Lima to ground and pound at the second round at the end of it, or in the second half of the fight. But I'm not doing second half of the fight. I'm calling exact shots that I think are going to happen. I think Belal Muhammad finishes him by TKO to ground and pound in the second round. Dhiego Lima is very experienced, hard to submit, but I think Belal Muhammad changes it up and goes for the big punches and gets the job done in the second round. Moving on to the headliner of the prelims, Rodolfo Viera versus Anthony Hernandez. I'm going to go Rodolfo Viera by arm triangle in the first round. I think there'll be a couple of exchanges on the feet. Maybe Anthony Hernandez lands a good shot and comes crashing forward. That's actually exactly my prediction. I believe they're going to be on the feet. Hernandez will feel like he's landed a decent shot and Rodolfo Viera will start backing up. Hernandez will start swarming as he did against Jordan Wright on the Contender Series, looking to land that big shot. And I believe immediately as that happens, Rodolfo Viera's going to shoot right underneath the aggressive pressure of Anthony Hernandez's looping shots, get himself the takedown and manipulate Hernandez, big brothering him into an arm triangle choke in the first round. He's had 2 of them so far in his UFC career. I think he keeps going to them because it doesn't really take much skill to get an arm triangle compared to like a triangle itself or anything like that. I think he's just going to go out there and big brother Anthony Hernandez by being the stronger guy and just force him into an arm triangle position in the first round. End of the first round, after a couple of exchanges on the feet, Rodolfo Viera sinks in the arm triangle choke to get the job done. Moving on to the main card, Maki Pitolo versus Julian Marquez kicks us off on the main card of a pay-per-view that the UFC expects us to pay $70 for. Julian Marquez versus Maki Pitolo is on the main card. I believe that Maki Pitolo is going to weather an early storm from the Cuban Missile Crisis, Julian Marquez, who's going to be throwing with some heat in that first round. Maki Pitolo has a very good chin. He's taken on bigger guys. He's been in the middleweight division for quite some time now, looking very good. I think he will eventually get to Julian Marquez in those later rounds because in Julian Marquez's fights, he doesn't have the best cardio if things get a little bit iffy. I don't see him KOing Maki Pitolo early, and I do see him going for a KO earlier against Maki Pitolo. I think it's going to be a great first round, a potential fight of the night performance from both men, but Maki Pitolo will come out on the other side in the third round, putting the pressure on Julian Marquez, who's going to be tired, and finish him against the cage with body shots for a TKO finish in the third round. Body shots against the cage for Maki Pitolo. He gets the job done. Ricky Simone versus Brian Boom Boom Kelleher is on the main card of the pay-per-view. This actually makes me so happy, because this was on the early prelims, and this is one of the most deserving ones to get on the main card in my opinion. What an amazing fight, in the making for so long. Ricky Simone versus Brian Kelleher. I do believe that Brian Kelleher is going to lose this one. I think he's going to lose it by 29-28 unanimous decision. Ricky Simone will get the job done in the first 2 rounds by mixing in his takedowns. He's got great flash takedowns where he almost just throws people to the ground. Don't know if you guys have watched his Rani Yaya fight, but Yaya is an amazing jiu-jitsu guy, so what Ricky Simone was doing was just scooping him up and chucking him on the ground and then walking away to score his takedowns. Very good performance by Ricky Simone throughout his career. I think that Ricky Simone goes out there, takes down Brian Kelleher, keeping his head on the inside, avoiding guillotines. Maybe Kelleher goes for a guillotine at one point, but Simone is going to separate himself from the pack by passing over those legs, earning himself side control, and as the rounds go on, it will start to look worse and worse for Brian Kelleher until the third round, when Simone knows knows that he's won, they're going to get into a bit of a scrap in the third round on the feet, back and forth. Kelleher might land some shots, Simone might land some shots, but I think Kelleher might edge himself the third round of that bout, because Simone has a very bad habit of just noticing that he's won the first 2 rounds clearly, and then kind of taking off the third round, because he doesn't want to expend his energy and gas himself out, because he's a huge man. But I think he gets this one done by unanimous decision, 29-28, mixing in takedowns and controlling Brian Kelleher on the ground or against the cage for the first 2 rounds, but Kelleher gets the third one down, 29-28 Ricky Simone. Moving on, Kelvin Gastelum versus Ian Heinisch is also on the main card. A great one, should be the co-main events, but whatever, we'll get to that in a second. Kelvin Gastelum versus Ian Heinisch. I think this is going to be a fun scrap, back and forth. Heinisch lands some good shots, maybe a couple of head kicks, who knows. He went for that against Derek Brunson, but he doesn't really throw amazing amounts of head kicks, I'll be honest with you guys. He does throw a little bit reckless at times. I think that while he's throwing reckless big shots, Kelvin Gastelum's going to be sinking some good ones to the body, and I think Heinisch will win the first round of this bout by being stronger, holding him against the cage, landing some shots here and there that might be perceived as bigger against Kelvin Gastelum. Gastelum will stay composed, very composed, stay calm under pressure like he has done before, land some good shots to the body in this bout. I think he'll land that body kick. I saw him drilling it on embedded a couple of times. I think that body kick is open for him against Ian Heinisch, who keeps his arms very high up and doesn't have an amazing reach for his size, 72 inches, 5'10". I mean, there's some featherweights on the roster with better reaches than that, but still, I think Volkanovski might have a better reach than him. But either way, Heinisch is going to get kicked to the body a couple of times. He's going to get jabbed and two'd to the body in the first round. Then Kelvin Gastelum will start mixing it up upstairs in the second. Heinisch will win the first round off of strength and power. Gastelum will win the second round, and then Gastelum will get the finish in the third round by TKO. Heinisch will be gassed after some body shots. He will start swinging a little bit recklessly to get some respect against Kelvin Gastelum, who at this point in the third round, I believe is going to be pressuring him against the cage, looking for his big shots, popping at him with a jab, trying to look for openings. Heinisch will throw back, and Gastelum will tag him with a right hand straight down the poop, yeah, and earn himself another highlight in his career in the third round by TKO. Kelvin Gastelum drops Heinisch against the cage and gets the TKO finish in the third round, and it's a very good one indeed, following up with shots as Heinisch covers up on the ground. Kelvin Gastelum gets the job done. Moving on, Maycee Barber versus Alexa Grasso. Great one to watch for many different reasons than fighting skill, but one of them is fighting skill. Maycee Barber versus Alexa Grasso. Great fight. I think Maycee Barber's going to get exposed as not a very good technical striker, because Alexa Grasso's came up in the strawweight division, much better division overall. I believe Alexa Grasso's going to go out there and just land that 2 down the pipe on Maycee Barber's chin as she is swinging hooks wildly throughout the fight. Barber's going to be bloodied up, battered. Grasso will stay behind her jab. She will stay technical. She will use her reach advantage in this bout, which I believe she has with 1-inch reach advantage. I think Alexa Grasso will use that to its full extent and land a 1-2 down the pipe at will against Maycee Barber, maybe even shooting in some takedowns to see what Barber's made of. And Grasso will jab to her way to a unanimous decision win, 30-27. I don't even see Maycee Barber winning the first round. I think Grasso's really going to expose her in the technical striking world and land that 1-2 down the pipe throughout the entire fight, long for 3 rounds. Moving on to the main event, which everyone has been waiting for, I assume. I believe Gilbert Burns is going to TKO Kamaru Usman in the first round. I think it's going to be brutal. I think it's going to be a TKO, not a KO. I don't see Usman going out cold. This is my prediction. I think Usman is a little bit too green on the feet and stiff in the first round. Maybe going to Trevor Whitman is going to be a blessing in disguise, and all of a sudden his striking is amazing. I'm not going to be sure about that. I think Gilbert Burns goes out there, tags him in the first round. Usman will maybe have some moments where he gets a takedown, but Burns will work his way back. He will scramble his way on the ground. Maybe Usman disengages from the ground because Burns is going for a leg or something like that in the first round, and Burns will make his way up to his feet again. Then Usman will try to close the gap as Burns is circling against the cage, look to land his jab to a 2 down the pipe that he landed on Sergio Moraes, where he pumps the jab, lands the 2 behind it and drops him. And I think as he goes to pump the jab, Burns is going to hold his ground and land that lead hook that dropped Damian Maia in the first round against Kamaru Usman. And I think he finishes Kamaru Usman as Usman is looking for a single leg and Burns is raining down punches like he does in manic fashion, screaming, "Bah, bah, 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 bah," as he does it, landing shots behind the ear of Kamaru Usman as he's just holding onto a single leg, getting pummeled, similar to the Greg Hardy versus Juan Adams situation. I think Burns gets it done there after dropping Usman with a lead hook in the first round, and then stands up afterwards, and here's the real prediction: he will scream the words, "Poa!" I think he will scream that at the top of his lungs tonight after a big win against Kamaru Usman by first round KO, or TKO, sorry. Landing that lead hook after Usman pumps that sloppy jab. He brings it back too low because he's looking to engage in the clinch or land that two behind it. And Burns will time that lead hook, put him down, rain down ground and pound as Usman's trying to get a single leg. Usman will stop moving and they will step in and stop the fight. Burns will be the new welterweight champion of the world. Thank you for watching. Click that button up there. Goodbye. I'll see you later. And hopefully I'm correct here, because I believe I have a real good feeling about this. Toodle pip. Goodbye.